Counselor Troi was never better than when Star Trek TNG turned her into a Romulan. For much of Star Trek, the Next Generation's run, Counselor Deanna Troi struggled with uneven writing. Despite being a half-betazoid empath with the ability to sense emotions, Troi often ended up relegated to simplistic roles, stating the obvious captain, "I sense hostility," serving as a bridge for other characters' development, or being shoehorned into romantic subplots that didn't always serve her growth. Yet in one of the series' boldest narrative choices, TNG finally gave Marina Sirtis material worthy of her talent by transforming Troi into a Romulan. Suddenly, the character who had often been underutilized became the centerpiece of intrigue, tension, and emotional depth. This transformation occurred in the sixth season two-part episode, Face of the Enemy. In it, Troi awakens aboard a Romulan ship, surgically altered against her will to appear Romulan. She quickly learns she's been forced into a dangerous espionage mission, posing as a member of the Tall Shire, the Romulan secret police. What could have been a gimmick instead became one of the most compelling showcases for both Troi as a character and Sirtis as an actress. Breaking free from the empath box, Troi's empathic abilities were always framed as her defining trait, but the writers rarely pushed them beyond surface-level applications. In Face of the Enemy, that gift is essentially useless. Troi can't rely on sensing emotions to survive in a hostile environment where duplicity reigns supreme. Instead, she must rely on intelligence, adaptability, and sheer willpower. In many ways, this was liberating. Deanna Troi was suddenly more than the ship's counselor with mystical insight into feelings. She was thrust into the shoes of a strategist and survivor. Her success depended on her ability to bluff, command, and intimidate seasoned Romulan officers who were skeptical of her authority. Without the Enterprise crew to back her up, Troi had to forge her own path, and she did so brilliantly. Sirtis finally gets her spotlight. Marina Sirtis often lamented in interviews that Troi was underwritten compared to her peers. Captain Picard had his diplomacy, Data had his quest for humanity, Worf had his Klingon heritage, and Riker had his command ambition. Troi, meanwhile, was too often confined to counseling sessions and passive observations. But in Face of the Enemy, Sirtis carried nearly the entire episode. She displayed an astonishing range, shifting from fear and confusion to cold authority and calculated manipulation. The moment she assumes the mantle of a Tall Shire officer and orders the Romulan crew around with sharp confidence is a highlight of the series, not just because of the drama, but because it revealed layers in Troi that had always been present but never tested. Troi didn't just survive the ordeal, she thrived in it. Watching her lean into her assumed Romulan identity felt like watching her step into her own potential for the first time. The irony of becoming the enemy. Thematically, Troi's Romulan transformation resonated because of the contrast between her profession and her disguise. Troi, the counselor devoted to compassion and understanding, was forced to masquerade as an officer of the Tall Shire, an organization synonymous with fear, secrecy, and brutality. The tension between her values and the role she had to play made for electric drama. Even more compelling was the sense of irony. Troi, who often softened tense situations aboard the Enterprise, now had to embody intimidation and ruthlessness to survive. For a character often written as gentle and nurturing, seeing her weaponize authority was a revelation. The episode suggested that Troi's empathy wasn't her only strength. It was her resilience and adaptability under pressure that defined her. Romulan makeover. Character makeover. Visually, Troi's transformation was striking. The Romulan makeup and uniform stripped away the softness often associated with her character. No longer in the comfortable dresses and flowing hair that had been her trademark for much of the series, she looked sharper, harder, and, most importantly, commanding. The makeover reinforced how much her circumstances had changed and how much she had to evolve in response. This wasn't just a superficial shift. It symbolized how much more powerful she could be when freed from the constraints the writers had imposed on her. By appearing Romulan, Troi paradoxically became more human than ever before. A glimpse of the Troi that could have been. Episodes like Face of the Enemy revealed the frustrating truth about Troi's journey on TNG. She could have been so much more often. The Romulan arc wasn't just a one-off. It was proof of concept. Given the right material, Troi wasn't just a background player. She was capable of commanding entire narratives. It also foreshadowed how strong Troi could be in later Star Trek appearances. In Star,